This is Lauren of Great Black Speakers, and today I am interviewing Bernard Harris, who is a life coach and speaker. Welcome, Bernard.
Thank you for having me.
It is my pleasure. It is my pleasure. We're going to get into, who you are and what you do. Tell us about yourself.
Who I am, I was just in conversation on last night with a group of people. As a matter of fact, I'm a counselor as well, licensed counselor in the state of Michigan. And that question came up, and it's not something that had come up in my mind before last night. I've thought about it a great deal. So long story short, I'm a man because of my gender and because of socialization. But I've narrowed it down to one other thing, and that is I'm a human being. Everything else are attainments. I have degrees, I own a home, I'm a father. You become a father, if you understand what I'm saying. Degrees I earned, nobody gave them to me. The different things I do, I don't define myself by things, is what I'm trying to say. I don't define myself by attainments. At the end of the day, you could say I'm a compassionate person, I'm a caring person, I'm involved, but at the long story short, I'm a human being. Beyond that, everything else is an attainment, it's an acquisition. And I think we do ourselves an injustice when we try and label who we are. Perhaps that makes sense, maybe it doesn't, but to me, it works.
It certainly makes sense. I'm familiar with the study of sociology, and I think that kind of falls into, I want to say like functional structuralism or something like that. But anyhow,
There you go again. That did not come from a sociology book. It was something I arrived at because like I said, I have degrees, I have certain experiences, but at the end of the day, I have problems, I have issues that confront me, I have things that I deal with that I don't like, I've encountered certain situations not to my liking, and my response, be it good or bad, determines outcome. But I'm still left with being who I am, which is a man and a human being who has to respond to the next set of situations. I try not to say I'm Bernard Harris, I'm a counselor. Counseling is what I do. Am I still making sense?
yeah, definitely. It's what you do and who you are, which are two separate things, which I totally understand. But for the purposes of our audience, tell us what you have done and, humor us with the many accomplishments that you have made, not to label you, but just to get to know you better and what you do.
What I've done, I'm preparing my bio, and one of the things that I share with I'll be sharing is that I am a survivor of the civil rights movement. As a child in my hometown, Selma, Alabama, I participated in that movement. I was fortunate enough to see Dr. King, to see Malcolm, to sit and talk with Stockley Carmichael. I didn't know the significance of that conversation. I didn't know that I was making history. I didn't know the impact he would later have on Black America. I had the opportunity to meet H. Rap Brown. We didn't do any talking, but I was left in awe of this man and everything that took place in my home at that time, including that Bloody Sunday, what they call Bloody Sunday. I was a part of that. And so that is probably one of my most memorable things. Beyond that, being a father, I have sons. I've spoken in other places in the state. I've spoken locally, and I've felt like quite some time I have some knowledge, some insights, some concepts that I think others could benefit from. So here I am.
Well, that is certainly a major accomplishment in life or experience or memory to have, to be a part of, what they call Bloody Sunday, and to have those conversations with those amazing, great men who have had such a great impact on our history, American history and Black history, considering it's the month of February. So tell me, what made you decide to join Great Black Speakers?
Actually, I was just playing around on the computer with not a whole lot to do, and I saw the advertisement. I read through it, and I decided it was something I wanted to try, to go for it at this late date in life, to see what I could do with it.
Okay. And what is your life mission as it stands today, with the things you've done and the experiences you've had and what you currently do in relation to who you are? What is your life mission?
To empower others to be the very best that they can be, without making some of the mistakes in life that I've made, without having to suffer some of the indignities of life that I've had to endure, because there's an absence of knowledge, because there's a lack of consciousness. I call it a consciousness leveling. And when I say level, I mean, I think the longer we live, we evolve. And we evolve through the acquisition of knowledge. And some people don't have the knowledge that I have, some don't have the insights that I have. And of course, that could apply to others as well. People, you don't have the same insights and knowledge that I have, but you do have something that I can use. So I think we each bring to the table, some of us a little bit greater than others, and I think that I have, like the younger generation who don't have a clue in terms of what awaits them. I'm appalled at the number of young men who are losing their lives, who are in prison. I used to speak at prisons, and I shared with people that I would get tired actually counting the black inmates, but I could do the number of whites in that audience on one hand. You understand what I'm saying? And so oftentimes when I finished speaking, any number of inmates would come up to me and say, I wish somebody had shared that with me. I wish somebody had told me that story. I wish somebody had cared as you seem to do. Perhaps I wouldn't be here. And one of the most significant things that jump out at me is I had spoken at one of our local prisoners. And when I finished, a young man walked up to me and he said, you hurt my feelings. And so that was stunning to me, and I recoiled from it. And I said, what do you mean I hurt your feelings? He said, it was as if you were talking directly to me. He said, but don't be afraid. He said, I just want you to know, if I had heard that sooner, I would not be doing straight life.
Wow.
And I didn't leave elated. I was hurt. I was hurt. Here it is, 21 years old, and you're going to spend the rest of your life in prison, and you blame it on a lack of knowledge. And I've encountered a lot of that, not just in the prisons, but high school kids, college kids, who don't know the question that you asked me. Who am I? Why am I here? And what is my purpose? And I try to define that for them by sharing. Basically, long story short, you are who you determine you can be, but you have to believe that you can be someone other than who you are now. You have to be willing and able to pay the price to get there. For an example, if you want to be an engineer, how is your math? If you want to be a doctor, how are you when it comes to the sciences? Whatever it is in life that we want to do, we have to be prepared to do the work, then we have to have the discipline. And I think any intelligent, sometimes it takes greater than average intelligence, but any intelligent human being can become whatever he or she wants to be. Transgenderism bears that out now, doesn't it? Men are switching to women. Women are becoming men. So we as human beings can do whatever we want to do.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point that you've made. I saw a quote today, basically supporting what you're saying about, you are who you are because you made a decision to be that person, right? At some
Yep.
point, we all come to an age where, there's decision A and decision B, and it really could, set the tone for the rest of your life. And some people, make the good decision, and some people make not so good decisions. But some people, have lack of resources to even be able to consider their decisions intelligently, like you mentioned. So, when you do your speaking engagements, you mentioned that you discuss mistakes or experiences in your life and indignities. Can you highlight what some of those types of conversations sound like in your engagements?
Mm, sometimes I encounter people young women, who bemoan the fact that they cannot find a suitable mate. And they tend to blame the male for their choices. And so I probe and I prompt. And one of the things that I share with them is I said, what you found out in the end is what you knew in the beginning. And they said, what? I said, what you found out in the end is what you knew in the beginning. And oftentimes they don't really understand that. But I go on to share with them that was something said, that was something done, that you ignored, you didn't pay attention to, or you felt you were going to change that individual. True story. I know a young lady who shall always remain nameless. She ended up marrying this guy, and she's been with him 7 years. On their very first date, they were going to an amusement park. He didn't have the $5 to get in. Did that tell you something? Now, who can make this up?
Oh my goodness.
And so I asked her, I said, "Did you marry him?" She said, but he went and got a job, but he's not working now. And I said to her, but you married him. So I try to get people to see that it's about choices and decisions. And yes, you just said sometimes we don't have people that we can talk to, or we have limited knowledge. And so and when we're limited, it's because one of the things Dr. King said, if you want to give a man, and I'll include a woman too, a headache, it's required them to think. Some people just don't think.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. That is a funny story. So, I
And
mean, you can add relationship expert to one of your titles as well,
well, I
because
do
that is
that
great
as well.
information.
When we were doing when I filled out the app of sort, it had a myriad of things that it asked. And you were only limited to 7. So I do more than recapture my time growing up in Selma. I've done a whole lot more than I was able to put on that app, so to speak.
Yeah, so tell me about that. Tell me about the topics that you cover, that you weren't able to mention. Of course, love has to be one of them because you just gave me some good advice.
What other topics do I talk about? My undergrad degree is in marketing and management. I've owned several businesses. I say I'm a religious advisor and speaker. I have a master's in pastoral counseling, so I can cover the area of religion. And there's a lot of confusion there as well in terms of what God said, what He meant, what people believe, how they come to believe what they believe. and some don't believe. And I can tell you how to go in business. I can tell you how to stay in business. I can tell you any number of things about getting ready to go in business. Young people, I find, are the easiest because their minds have not been clouded over with all of the things that we typically go through. And so they're not jaded. By that, you still can see some light. You know, there's some light there. And so when I share with them some life stories, when I share with them the possibilities, and then another area I like to go down is history, in particular African American history as it relates to American history. And I don't want to sound like I'm narrow in focus. I deal with people, period. And I don't pick them. So if I'm dealing with a Caucasian, I adapt to their particular set of circumstances. But I find that it's a lot of us who are lost. So I spend a lot of time with our people. And when I say I don't want to niche myself in, because I think the stories and the ideas and the experiences I've had, they cut across the board. So there are a myriad of different things that I can talk about that I'm able to bring to the table.
Excellent, excellent. So how have audiences responded to your engagement so far? What is the typical response that you hear? Are people, wound up? Are they feeling enlightened? What kind of reactions have you gotten?
My last engagement, I got a standing ovation.
Wow.
One I didn't see, true story. I had turned away. And as I cleared the stage, I didn't look back. And so one of my lady friends who was in the audience, she said, "Did you see that?" And I said to her, "See what?" She said, "They gave you a standing ovation." And more than one person shared that with me. So that has to be perhaps one of the greatest.
Excellent, excellent. Well, we certainly hope to, get you in front of more audiences so that you're giving or receiving more standing ovations with your topics in regard to your history and your experiences, which I think are very valuable. So, is there anything that you would like to leave us with before we go? Do you have some social media, a website, any information, email that you would like to share with the audience in the event that they want to contact you?
Right now, it's Great Black Speakers. When I talked to Lawrence, he was saying, "Don't worry about a website at present. Perhaps later." I've been searching around for a website. You asked me about some other topics that I cover, and I was looking at my business card, and one of those is diversity. I told you marketing consultant, life coach we've already covered, personal empowerment, children, relationships, parenting, and that's not drawn strictly from my being a parent. Some books, but then I was a single parent. I raised my children myself, so being a man, I think that's quite an accomplishment.
Yes.
And so I can speak to the issue of parenting, and I like the issue of diversity. So I think I have a whole range of different things. And right now I'm just limited to Great Black Speakers, which I think might be a good vehicle. I'm quite elated at the way you are reaching out and what you're trying to do. So that gives me reason to believe that something can take place.
It absolutely can. It absolutely can. So thank you for your time and for sharing the information with us today. I'm certain that we'll have more viewers and responses to this video to contact you and to bring you in to speak. So it has been a pleasure, Mr. Bernard Harris.
And when you use my advice, you can call me from my address or you can send me a stipend.
You got it. You got it.
Take care. Nice.